The last year has really gone by quickly, and a lot has happened. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. So for the FES Center people, many of you are here today. We're going to celebrate your amazing work. And I hope when you leave here today, not only do you feel like, wow, I've actually done something great, but you recognize what your colleagues are doing and how they've contributed to our overall mission. You know, for our guests out online, welcome. And I hope that you're surprised by the breadth and the depth of the activities that I'm going to present today from the FES Center. So, again, welcome and thanks for coming. So I'm going to talk about the state of the FES Center, and I'm going to start by basically giving away the story, because I'm going to come back to it at the end. But I kind of want to make sure people understand some things about the center. So first of all, we're devoted to identifying and resolving the major challenges in rehabilitation. I'll go into more detail about that, but that's what we're about. That's our mission. We have really great investigators. Many of them are here today, and we have great staff. And we're from all walks of life in the science and medical world. We really have a diverse group of people. We do a lot of FES. We're called the FES Center. We continue to make new contributions, new innovations, new applications in FES, new techniques. But that's not all we do. We do a lot more than FES, and I'll describe that as well. We do a lot of different things, all focused on rehabilitation solutions. We train a lot of people. I see a lot of our students and postdocs here. Just wait. I'll show you the kind of impact we've had out in the world with our trainees. We do a lot of first-in-man applications. These are not easy. I think a lot of us take this for granted. Many places don't do this, and we do a lot of it. So that's a really unique attribute of our center. And we are very, very collaborative. So our center is set up as a consortium. It has the VA, which is funds our core activities, but it also has 4 other institutions: Case Western Reserve University, Metro Health Medical Center, University Hospitals, and the Cleveland Clinic. By design, we're a citywide consortium that's focused on these problems in rehabilitation. We have a great seminar series. So you can come here, often it's here, sometimes it's in other places, but you can come and watch some of the leaders in research in the world, and you can watch it online if you're somewhere else, or you can watch it later if you miss it when it's live. We have a huge number of external collaborations with other universities and medical centers and research institutions. And we also have many connections with industry and with translational research mechanisms that propel some of our discoveries into products to develop new companies. Okay, this is my story, so if we get cut off somehow, you already know what it is. I'm going to focus primarily on one concept today, though, and that's impact. I want you to understand the impact that the FES Center has had, the impact that we have today, the impact that I hope we'll have in the future. So I'm going to come back to that time and time again. You'll probably get tired of hearing that word, but I think that's what we're all about, is impact. I'm going to start with a little bit of a history lesson, though, and a little background about this center. So first of all, these are statements that we've crafted to sort of reflect our philosophy and our approaches to rehabilitation research. I'm not going to read them. They're very inspiring and very nice, but they basically say that we're here to do the best rehabilitation research that we can. We're open-armed, we have a lot of different disciplines, and we basically look to replace or compensate for natural neural function that's lost due to a disease or an injury. Okay? You can see this on our website. So I'm going to talk a little bit about functional electrical stimulation so everybody knows what that is, in case you don't. Okay, so it's small electrical currents that replace natural activation or modulate neural circuits of some kind. So there's many different ways to apply this. You can apply it to peripheral nerves, you can apply it to muscles, you can apply it to the brain, you can apply it to spinal cord injury to do specific different interventions. If you know the system that you're stimulating, and you know how to interact with that, if you can figure out the language of the nervous system, functional electrical stimulation will allow you to talk to the nervous system in appropriate ways to do this restoration. It has some big advantages. It has precise targeting. If you choose the right electrodes, it has few side effects if you do this properly, and you can turn it on and off. Those are big advantages over some other possible interventions. The other thing about FES is that basically any part of your body, any organ, is either directly controlled or influenced by the nervous system. So that means that just about all body functions can be influenced by FES. We can use this for many different kinds of injuries and diseases. So they can be motor, they can be sensory, they can do neuromodulation. We can turn things off and we can turn things on. We can look at different parts of the nervous system. We can look at the somatic nervous system, so motor and sensory functions. We can look at the autonomic nervous system. We can look at things like pain and brain disorders of various kinds. Okay, so what's shown, I guess I have a pointer here which I could use. These are all applications that have been pursued here in Cleveland and are being pursued today. It's quite impressive. These aren't the only ones that we could pursue, but these are the ones that we have. So, we also do more than FES. These are other major activities that go on in the FES Center. We have now experts in optical stimulation and recording, a new way to interface with the nervous system. We look at therapeutics, drugs to do various things. We've long done modeling and simulation. We're doing imaging and visualizations. We've long done outcomes assessments. We do basically physical rehabilitation interventions. We look at population demographics. We advocate for people that are in various clinical groups that we have. We look at physiology, motor control physiology. We do brain interfacing. We do clinical trials. These are the things that I could think of. It's a lot. And these aren't sort of isolated off in the corner doing their own thing. These are integrated with our approaches. Right? The FES is an intervention, but we have to do many of these things to design it, to implement it, to evaluate it. Okay, so we have a full breadth of experts in the FES Center. Okay, so our thrusts. We have a broad range. I already told you we have we can do a lot of different things with our interventions. Nope, that's not it. That's just the background. So movement restoration is how the FES Center got off the ground. It's still a major component of the work we do. And we do a lot of different things there. We restore limb function. We do respiratory pacing and cough. We do multiple functions. We do a lot of things in the movement area. That's what maybe a lot of you know us for, and we're proud of that. Brain health encompasses a lot of different things, but we do a lot of stroke rehabilitation, Parkinson's disease, brain-computer interfacing, epilepsy, some nascent applications in neuropsychiatry and traumatic brain injury. These are interventions in the brain that we are pursuing. Pain mitigation also has been around for a little bit in the FES Center, but many different applications. There's things like neuropathic pain and neuromuscular pain, amputation, neuroma pain, and post-surgical pain, among others. And finally, maybe the forgotten part of the nervous system. We had a speaker, Jeff Ardell, last week who I was talking to, and it was maybe not by you, Steve, but many people kind of think, oh, okay, it just kind of keeps everything going in your body. You don't think about it. But it leads to many different kinds of diseases that can potentially be treated using electrical stimulation. So things like bladder and bowel function, sleep disorders, asthma, various cardiovascular disorders, appetites, addiction. These kinds of things can be potentially treated by electrical stimulation. We have a lot of people that are now doing this, and we're bringing this together into a more coherent unit. And finally, the thing that, these are all nervous system applications, but the thing that sort of holds us together thematically is technology. That's common to many of our activities. And it includes modeling and simulation, implantable and external devices, electrodes, surgical planning, preclinical testing, first in man. Many of these are attributes of the center. And this is kind of the core part that holds us all together. Okay. So I'm going to spend just a minute or two with a little bit about the history of and the people that are in the FES Center. So a few of you might recognize some of these people in the next diagram. I know one person who will. You recognize that guy? This is before the FES Center was the FES Center. So Hunter and Al Freehafer started thinking about doing things to restore function in people that had cervical spinal cord injury. And then some guy named Mike Keith joined them. And they did an implant in this gentleman, Jim Jadich, in 1986. A few years after that, a couple of other people kind of came together. I see Byron back in the corner. Did you know that was Byron Marcellet right there? Pat Crago, who's over here, and others came together to form the FES Center. And the FES Center was comprised then of the VA, who provided funding, CASE, and Metro Health. So this is circa 1990, and then just a few years later, these four guys kind of joined in, I think in order, this order, and we're now kind of in a number of leadership positions in the field. Then, quite a few years later, University Hospitals joined the consortium, followed a couple years later by the Cleveland Clinic. So this is now our lineup for the consortium for the FES Center institutionally. So I'm not going to go through every time somebody joined the center, but what I'm going to show you is where we are today, okay? These are the investigators in the FES Center. Well, most of them. Some of you guys are really good at hiding your photographs. They're impossible to find, okay? I think this is something like 72 of our 85 investigators. And many of you, you'll see your pictures up there. The people in the bottom row have slightly bigger pictures because this is our executive committee. Okay? There he is, Ron Reekers. Raise your hand. Yep, there's Ron. He's our medical director. And the rest of you folks are part of the executive committee. These are the investigators. We have 85 investigators. And if you'll notice, 52 of them are clinicians and 33 are scientists. So this clinician sort of predominance is an important part of our mission. This is where we get we figure out what the needs are. It's one of the ways we do that anyway. We're not all. We have 53 staff members, so these are technical people and therapists and operations people. These are the people that keep us running. And we have a lot of trainees right now. We have 32 PhDs, 16 master's students, and 12 postdoctoral fellows. It's always been part of our mission to facilitate this. We don't train them ourselves, but our investigators do. Okay, so if you've joined the FES Center within the last year, just stand up for a second. I want to see, and I know some of you joined within the last year. Come on, stand up. People that have well, not as many as I thought. I thought there'd be a big number. Okay, there we go. So welcome, and this is how we keep our team going. Okay. So next, I forgot one thing. So these folks bring us depth and multidisciplinarity. That's a hard word to say, but it's true. We have a lot of depth in the various disciplines that we're in, and we have a lot of different disciplines, and we really work together. We do things that we could not do separately, okay? We have all the major institutions in town that have some interest in rehabilitation and neural engineering, and we have a lot of great people. So this is our story from a structural and a personnel perspective. So a few of you know this already, but we went around and asked a number of you to talk about what the FES Center means to you. So I'm just going to play a quick video here. I hope. Yep, there we go.
The FES Center provides us with an opportunity to collaborate at many levels with people with a number of different expertise from the scientific standpoint, the engineering standpoint, the clinical standpoint.
The center brings in a certain amount of gravitas. It brings a focus in this particular area. It brings expertise. People are attracted to this area and come here because of that.
It gives me this enormous group of people that I can sit with and talk with and develop ideas on, and there's always a go-to person.
Being able to run ideas by each other, form new collaborations is just something you maybe don't normally get. The other opportunity is the FES Center helped me present my data at a conference that I wouldn't have gotten a chance to go to.
The main benefit of the FES Center is the social cohesion that it provides for the community. It's the only mechanism that I'm aware of that can actually bring together the VA, CASE, Metro, UH, all these people working together and having a common place that they can talk, meet, and interact.
The FES Center is not only a critical knowledge resource for all scientists in Cleveland, it is also a space where we can collaborate and bounce ideas of each other and develop novel technologies across several organizations that we cannot do on our own.
You heard some common themes there, and this is really what we're trying to accomplish with the FES Center. We're trying to be a sort of non-denominational research organization that helps move all of us towards better rehabilitation interventions, and it kind of lowers the barriers between the institutions. Okay. So now I'm going to start talking a little bit about impact. So first, we have a lot of collaborations, and I'm going to start with academic and medical partners. And these are the ones that you told me. Remember I sent out an email, tell me your academic partners? So I think you'll be quite impressed by the breadth and depth really of our partners. So there are probably other ones that I don't know about, but this is a pretty impressive list of partners. We partner with people to extend our own expertise, to run kinds of trials that we can't do by ourselves. So if you're out there at another institution, we're certainly open to talk. We have also impact in the industrial and in the commercial world. So we have a number of partners here. And again, I don't know all of them. This is a pretty good list. It has a lot of neuromodulation companies, big and small, and a few other companies. But we're always looking to expand this list, and we work with a number of technology transfer and translational groups to help move our discoveries into products. At different levels, each one of these is trying to do that, okay? And we work pretty much every day on this. Okay, so we have a lot of impact on the academic world. We have a lot of impact also in the industrial world. Okay, I said this earlier, we also have impact because of the people that we've trained. And I asked people about their trainees, and I was overwhelmed. I had to make some limits because, wow, we have a lot of trainees. I didn't want to show 3 slides. So I'm focusing primarily on people that were trained as PhDs or postdocs, a few master's students that I know are still working in the neuromodulation space. So again, you're going to recognize, the people here are going to recognize a lot of these faces. I don't know how many people are here, something like 90 are going to show up here. We impact the world. A lot of these people are in academia. A lot of them work or have leadership roles in companies. They do research in a variety of locations around the country. Some of them are here, but most of them are out in the world. And they spread their knowledge that they've gained here. And it's one of the ways that we impact the world. So I'm going to try again. So people that are currently a student, a postdoc, a resident in some kind of a training role, just raise your hands. You don't have to stand. So again, this is the kind of the future for the FES Center and for the rehabilitation, neuroengineering, neuromodulation world. So thank you. Keep at it. We're looking forward to what you will do in the future. Okay. So we also have sort of scholarly impact. There's metrics that have to do with research groups. Ours are certainly impressive. We had $27 million of research in the last year. Those were our expenditures last year. And that's quite impressive. We have a big number of publications and presentations and book chapters. I have the feeling that this is pretty low. I feel like I gave 97 presentations last year. But we also, so these are our academic activities. We also had a huge number of more commercial activity, invention disclosures, a lot of patent applications and issued patents. This is, we are a research organization that hopefully serves up new product ideas to companies. And these metrics really represent that. So we have a lot of impact through our academic productivity and through our technology transfer activity. The funding trend, just to show you, we're on a nice upward trend. Part of that is the excellence of our investigators. Part of it is we've added some investigators. But our overall impact, if measured in expenditures, has gone up substantially. Okay, so these things, the funding and the translational activities are really the investigators that work in the center. What does the center itself do to promote these kinds of activities? So again, I'm going to give it away, and then I'm going to go back and give a little more detail. We sponsor a really high quality seminar series, the Neuroprosthesis seminar series. And it's now online. It's a webinar. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. We sponsor conferences. We provide management and leadership training to investigators and others that would like to have that. We do a lot of dissemination of the kinds of research that we do, what the opportunities are. This past year, thanks to our R&D service at the VA, we were able to make quite a few equipment purchases that were coordinated by the FES Center. And we do a lot. We really work hard. Andy Cornwell is here. Raise your hand, Andy. So we do a lot of interactions with industry. We do these things to set up long-term relationships. We try to help people set up short-term relationships as well, and to translate their ideas into products. So let me come back to a few of these things. So our neuroprosthesis seminar series over the past year, again, you can see the speakers here. Most of them are external. A few of them are from our local community. It's a good way for us to both see what's happening in the leaders outside and to talk to some of the people that are our national leaders that happen to be here in Cleveland. So, like I said, we've had a great set of speakers. What's shown on the map of the world here is our viewers for our web part of this. So I know once when I was in Australia, it was over here though, not over there. It was down here, but they told me it's too hard to get speakers to come to Australia. It's too far away. We just get together on Friday mornings and watch the videos of your speakers. So that really touched me. It's like we're doing these things. Now they're live. You can do it live now, but back then it was at least by video. So we have quite a few people especially from around the U.S., but also around the world that watch our seminars. And we're trying to impact the world in that way. So if you're interested, again, you can go down here is the address for the webinars. If you're watching right now, you've already accessed this link. But you can watch our seminars, and you can also watch them later. They're archived a few days after the seminar. Okay. Some other things that we do is that we put on conferences. We help our investigators put on conferences. So 2 of them are featured here. There was one that was the Cleveland course for advanced neuromodulation, which utilized the HoloLens approach for looking at some of the tracks in the brain. And we also put one on to new approaches to the opioid crisis. So these are administrative support that we give to put on conferences like this. We also provide financial support to a few conferences that are directly aligned with our mission. And we go and we usually have displays and things to talk about that. So these are other ways that we try to impact the rehabilitation world. Like I said before, we provide professional development and leadership training. And some of these things are activities that are we do for ourselves, the investigators do for ourselves. We talk about our concepts for future grants. We do strategic planning, which I'll get to in a few minutes. We help with grant writing. We also have developed a program with our management school, the Weatherhead School, to provide formal training to people that would like to do this. And it provides basically just basic training on how to do things like manage others, how to manage complex projects. And it's really for people that just want to do a better job managing their own lab, understanding what it means to manage a lab, maybe if you're not an investigator yet, all the way through. These are, if you take on positions with more responsibility. So we had about 8 people last year.
Just over 10.
Oh, just over 10, 11. So we had a number of people go through these. I'd say that the feedback was really strong and excellent. It's not a semester-long thing. It's taken in bits and pieces, and I really strongly recommend that you talk to Cheryl if you want to do this. I think it's a good thing. It helps develop all of us in an area where we're not necessarily trained. Okay, we also do a lot of dissemination about what we do, what the opportunities are for participants, just to show the world and our colleagues what's happening. So we do some of the social media activities, and we've had quite a few people that pay attention to that. We have articles in various media. We also don't forget our sponsors in the VA. So we have more general VA outreach, so that it reaches the veterans. So there's the VA Research Currents has something like 35,000 views, and we're part of a bigger film from the VA about their research activities that had quite a few viewers. So this is how we reach out to through the VA. And we don't forget our real sponsors, which are our leaders in Congress, and so we had Chris Kowalski was, for example, at the VA Research Day this past year, and he talked to Dr. Ramoni, who's the head of research overall at the VA. Okay, and finally, we do a lot of mentoring of people prior to them being graduate students. So there are some formal activities. We work with the APT Center on summer research tools. Many of us take students, every high school seems to have these end of the semester for seniors where they need to spend a week or two shadowing someone. We do that a lot. We have a lot of undergraduate students in our laboratories as well, and they go throughout the city. So we have a lot of impact on those individuals as well. Okay, that's kind of what the last year was, what the last years were, what I hope to continue to push forward with the center. But what I really want to talk mostly about today is what's next. All right, it's time to look forward. I realize today that there are 48 days left in this decade. All right, we're going into the roaring 20s or whatever it's going to be called in the future. And I think that we need to make it the roaring 20s. We need to make the decade of the 2020s really impactful in terms of rehabilitation advances. Okay, so I said our impact is transforming rehabilitation. This is really what I want to accomplish. And what I'm going to start with today is we're going to be doing strategic planning. This is, over the next year, we're going to extensively do strategic planning. And the kind of questions that we're going to talk about are, what do people with disabilities want? What do they need? What does society want and need? What ideas do the clinicians need? So this is identifying needs. Like what does the rehabilitation community and the people that are seeking rehabilitation, what would they like? What are the roles of industry in rehabilitation research? How do we engage industry? What would they like to see themselves doing over the next 10 years? What limits our abilities to make major improvements in our rehabilitation interventions? What are the things that limit that? How well do we understand mechanisms? Do we discover something, sort of like by chance and just go with it? Typically, we try to understand the mechanisms. And what's the new expertise that we need? It may be expertise that we already have but haven't engaged. It may be expertise that we recruit in. It might be collaborators out in the world. Okay, so today I'm going to focus on what limits our abilities to make major improvements. This is something that I think is the most immediate thing that the center can do to help the investigators make these major improvements. So to start this off, we went around and what I wanted to do was evoke really big picture, blue sky ideas from some of our investigators. And we just started this. You'll all have a chance. But a few of you, we got these big ideas by saying, what would you do if you had $1 billion in funding? Okay, so that takes away all the money issues, and I hope it focuses on what are the big things that we should be striving to do. Okay, it was a lot of fun, by the way. So I'm gonna play a little video here. $1 billion.
I know that Dr. Kirsch will walk one day through my door and say, I got $1 billion. He's a very persuasive man. When he does that, not if, just when, what I will suggest is that we divide the money in two pots. One will be for creating a wonderful facility of collaborative discovery. The other pot, which should be the larger pot, will be, in my opinion, an opportunity to take risk on developing disruptive ideas.
So if we had $1 billion, we would work to implement some of the technologies that we've already developed in order to validate their clinical efficacy.
That money would be a catalyst to turn the center into a true global leader in the commercialization of medical devices.
If the center had unlimited resources, or if something, where we could do anything we wanted, then one of the things we could work on is a way to interface with all organ systems.
You could really start changing the infrastructure here that could make huge differences. Manufacturing resources so we can make the next level sensors or the next level electrodes or the next level drug delivery devices.
And push anything that is ready all the way through the stages of translation to get out to the community.
If I had $1 billion, certainly making the technology available in a sustainable way.
I think the FES Center should focus on translating technology to other sites across the country so that it can be deployed to the general population.
The big emphasis would be to be able to develop living electrodes to become part of the biological environment of nerves and to be able to respond to external command.
We want to work and partner with agencies and companies who would take the technology that we've developed to commercialize it and to make it available to patients nationwide and worldwide.
If I had $1 billion, the first thing I would do is tear down that building where the Applied Neurocontrol Lab used to be. And then like a phoenix rising from the ashes, become this 20-story glass tower of neuromodulation. And each floor of this tower would then be its own therapy section. So you have one floor for spinal cord, one floor for Parkinson's disease, one floor for neuropsych. And it'd be the only place in the world where everything would be in one focus center.
So that money would disappear very fast.
This was just the start of this exercise. Everyone will have a chance. But I did hear two themes there. One of them was deployment of various kinds. Well, I guess I heard three things. Deployment, a little more risk-taking, and infrastructure. And so these are the things that, it's a good start. I mean, it was a great exercise to go through with a handful of you. And we're going to do this on a bigger scale, okay? That was fun though, wasn't it? It's fun to think about having that much money, but okay. So in terms of the impact of the FES Center, what will we do to maximize our impact? So you heard a few things there which won't necessarily show up here, but probably will in the future. So first of all, I think we need to do a lot of formal reevaluation of what our target populations need, what veterans really want to have. You know, there's statistics and things, but the kinds of things that we do are pretty unique, and you can't really tell just by looking at population demographics, okay? So we'll do more of this for sure. I think we need to look at our research thrusts. Do they cover everything that we do? Do they cover more than we do? You know, what are the most critical needs in these thrusts? How do we propel them forward? How do we make movement restoration the best it can be? How do we make autonomic interventions the best that they can be? So part of that is, how does the FES Center invest its funding to make some of these things happen? It was suggested by several people that we make it much easier for engineers and scientists to meet informally with physicians and other clinicians and talk about the physicians, what their needs are in the clinic, and for the engineers and scientists to say, hey, did you know we have this capability now? And to talk about that on a regular but informal basis, probably on sort of application areas. Maybe, maybe not, but we'll see, okay? And I think that was a great idea. It's a core tenet of how we got started and how we've worked over many years, and I think we need to sort of double down on that. I think we also have to think about incorporating basic science into rehabilitation. We've talked about translating, you know, our scientific ideas into products. I think we need to get basic science into rehab. This is how some big move might be made. Entirely new ways of thinking about addressing problems. That isn't just a sort of an incremental change. Okay? We have to expand our industry and translational outreach. And you know, this is both because if we want to have an impact in the clinical world, we need primarily companies to do that. That's one thing. But from a very sort of mercenary perspective, more and more funding from the government is coming to do these kinds of collaborations, cooperations. So, both for impacting the world and for our own livelihood, we need to do a better job at reaching out to industry. So we have to understand what kind of expertise do we need in order to make these big changes. And this might be a year or two down the line after we go through some of the other aspects. But we have a lot of expertise. I think people have sort of toolkits that they keep digging in there and bringing out the same tool. And I have a lot of other things that could be used in other ways. And we need to work on that. We'll always be recruiting investigators, and we need to do that in some respects thoughtfully. We want people that bring impact to the table, though. We need to look at other academic partners. A lot of us do this already, but different institutions have different levels of expertise in different areas. It's very complementary potentially, same as in industry. We need to think about solving the problem and then figuring out who we need to recruit to do that, okay? And finally, you have to help me find the $1 billion. Andre was very confident that I was going to do it. So if there's anybody out there that has $1 billion burning a hole in their pocket, just let me know. I have a really good use for that. Okay. So just to summarize here, this year and the next year and the next year are going to be focused at the center level on strategic planning at in different sort of groups. We may do whole center kinds of things. We may do thrust area things. We may do clinical interactions. And I'm open to suggestions, but I think we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to maximize the impact we have. Okay, remember, 48 days and it's 2020. Sounds 2020, I guess we can start saying instead of the 2000 thing, right? We'll say 2020, maybe. Okay. So I kind of want to end by reminding ourselves why we do what we do. Okay, so first I have a whole, I could have put 100 slides on here. It's clear that as a group, we really care deeply about the kinds of applications we have, the people that are involved. There are a lot of pictures that I could have chose from. I tried to make it representative, but a lot of us do this work because we're motivated to do good things for people, and I don't want you to forget that. And I'm going to show a video in a second of a gentleman who was really formative to our program, who hasn't been around for a while, but Cheryl showed me this video, and it's a little bit dated. Some of the references, you get a kick out of them, but just get past that. This was really moving to me.
Because before I had the implants, I had to rely on an attendant or a family member to do things for me. And now, with the implant that I have in each arm, I can just go into a restaurant, pick up a fork, feed myself, pick up a pen and write, type on the computer holding a pencil, load and unload videotapes, audio tapes, CD-ROMs, and discs in a computer. So basically, once my hand systems are placed on me in the morning, which take about 5 minutes, I'm on my own without an attendant.
So this is Jim Jadich. He was the first participant in Hunter's implant hand graft system back in 1986. He was a reliable, consistent participant in, 100 studies maybe. And he passed away several years ago. But he is the epitome of the kind of person that we're trying to help with our work. So thanks, Jim. It really was touching, and thanks to Hunter and his team. Okay, I'm going to make one other pitch at a human level, literally. So one of my participants, and Balu Ajiboye and Jonathan Miller, is part of a movie called I Am Human, which was in the Tribeca Film Festival last spring, and I went and saw it with our participant was Bill Kochevar, and his family was there. And this movie is about the impact of invasive technology on the lives of people with severe disorders. So this is not very much about the technology itself, a little bit. It's mostly about the impact on their lives. The movie also features a woman that has severe Parkinson's disease who receives a deep brain stimulation system, and a gentleman who has macular degeneration receives a retinal implant. And it talks about, again, the impact on their lives. It's fabulously well done. Our Bill is kind of the first among three. I mean, he was featured at the beginning and the end. That was just a little bit of a teaser. So it's very well done, and I was very pleased with it. So if you have a chance, I suggest you go try to see it. Okay, so just about on time. It's time to come to an end here. So remember, I told you that I was going to give it all away. Well, I'm going to revisit it. So what's the state of the FES Center? We are really devoted to identifying and resolving major challenges in rehabilitation. That's what we do. We have a great set of people, investigators, staff, students, and they're from many different parts of the disciplinary world, and we all work together as a whole. We do lots of FES. We innovate in FES. We do many applications, new applications in FES. But we do more than that. We do a lot of things. Some of it's associated with bigger projects that involve many of these components, and some are standalone. We train a lot of people. We do a lot of first-in-man applications. And we're very, very collaborative, both in terms of the structure of our center to begin with, our outreach to the world. We have conferences, we have seminars. We collaborate at the research level with, I don't know how many universities and companies were there, 50, 60. And we have strong interactions with the translational research world. So, you know, I want you all to recognize what a great center we have. I invite you and plead with you to participate in our strategic planning activities. If you're interested in joining the FES Center or to collaborate from the outside or somehow work with clinicians or engineers in the center, just let me know. You know, we're happy. We always talk to people that want to join and collaborate. You know, it'll take all of us to have that impact that I was talking about, to move things forward. So we're more inclusive than exclusive. So I think that we're on a rising trend here to impact rehabilitation, and I hope that you can all join me in that. And finally, I put a group photo here. I think this is from last year. It's first of all to recognize all of you, and secondly to remind me to do two things. We're going to have a photograph like that, but here, so don't leave. And then we're going to have a reception out in the lobby. So thank you all for everything you do and for putting up with me today. So thanks.